Welcome to the 8th episode of VSTML 2009 Recaps from Reality TV Warriors. My name is Michael Armstrong, and joining me as always is the Canadian who gets cranky whenever we try and tell him to do something that he doesn't want to, Logan Saunders.
Good afternoon.
And the guy who would rather hang himself than stay in a hostel, David Bindley.
Good morning.
Good morning. As you might have guessed, it was a more difficult one to come up with intro banter this week because this is not a good episode of Vidum.
No, it is not.
I have less than 2 pages of A4 on this entire 50-odd minute episode.
Yeah. I've got 3 pages, and a lot of that is, double spaced. And then Pieter Jan says a thing sort of notes.
Yeah. And the best thing is, we're recording this... We were meant to record this episode last week, but then Saunders was meant to go and see Minecraft and then didn't and all that sort of stuff. So he watched it 10 days ago at this point. He could probably not remember this episode much, which is even better.
That's why I just scrolled through my notes to refresh my memory on it.
I watched half of this last night and I don't remember.
I know I've mentioned this before, but it's a weird schedule for me because I end up watching Belkia first and then the Vidum Historians were doing. So my mind should be on this, but it's very much already on Belkia for tomorrow. And how insane that episode ends up being. Best thing is I can say that because neither of you have watched it yet.
Yeah, I gotta watch it sooner rather than later.
Hmm.
It's a very Canadian-centric day, I think, today.
It is, not to date us too much. It's the Canadian elections today.
Yeah, I just got back from voting about 30 minutes ago.
Oh.
If we're in the federal election, yeah. So by probably about 7 or 8 hours, we'll know who the Prime Minister will be for the next little while in Canada. And then I just got back from Vancouver. What day is today? Monday? I got back from Vancouver 2 days ago. And guess what happened 2 days ago in Vancouver?
Amazing Race went there.
Yes, that was one.
Yeah. So I guess that's the end of the Chevy sponsorship.
Was it actually a Chevy vehicle? I couldn't bring myself to read.
I genuinely don't know, but the timing is odd.
Yeah.
The irony is, of course, that in about 7 or 8 hours we'll know who the new Canadian PM is, and let's be honest, it's not guaranteed by the time that this episode actually releases we'll know who the new Australian PM is going to be. Politics joke.
That's what everyone tunes into this podcast for.
Hard-hitting current affairs that are 4 months later at this point.
I did my voting on Thursday afternoon last week. And for our upper house, it's basically like a metre-long piece of paper with all the candidates on it, and you've got a number... I think it's 1 to 6 if you want to just vote for the parties, or 1 to 12 if you want to vote for, individual people.
Oh.
I know. We're talking, 100 candidates, literally. I looked at the parties, and I'm like, okay, that one's fascist, that one's fascist, that one's just outright Nazi. I could not find 6 parties, so I basically had to go down the bottom and just number individual people, and even then I struggled to get to 12. It was not a lot of choice this time.
And we're recording this in the week of UK local elections as well, and it's actually my council's off year, so I don't even get to vote this week.
Oh, boo. No sausage for you.
Yeah, which is a shame, because our council leader is almost certainly going to lose his seat next year when he comes up for re-election, and it's going to be very funny. So anyway, back to this episode. Previously, the final 5 shopped for items representing each of the Euro countries before navigating a wild wadi with blocks of ice. They were serving at the Dead Sea, where Vivienne's memory won them a double or nothing gamble before Rick was sent home.
So Vivienne would win the Pieter Jan-ker's gamble?
She absolutely would. She was literally offered a Pieter Jan-ker's gamble last week, and she did take it. And she actually succeeded, which is rare for Pieter Jan-ker's gamble, isn't it, Fuzzy?
Mm.
Yeah, maybe she's Fuzzy's cousin.
Maybe. Although she would know who the sneaky Belgian is.
Yeah, Vivienne's way too successful to be Fuzzy's cousin, I think.
And in the previously on segment, I like how the very first clip they show is Rick falling backwards in the water.
That's the important bit.
Previously on Vidum, Rick fell. Wait, can we rewind? Now slow motion, Rick fell. Let's replay it. And that was the episode. And then he was executed.
It's all he's remembered for, because he is one of the most forgettable people ever to be on Vidum.
What they should have done is show him falling in the water and then immediately cut to the red screen.
I mean, genuinely, like the first line of my notes every week is basically just sort of like a one-line recap of what happened the last week, so I remember. And this one, it's basically last week, everybody seemed to be suspecting John except for our very own horseboy. Rick went home disappointing nobody. And, like, I wrote that, last week when I started watching this episode, and it's taken me a whole week to get through it because, God, the last half is boring. But, like, I then had to go back again and make sure that was actually the last episode because I thought there was something after Rick went home that we hadn't watched yet.
All jokes aside, Rick is one of the most forgettable people ever to be on Venom, I think.
For how long he made it into the show, you mean?
Yeah, if you asked me to name everyone in this cast, I think I would remember Rick last.
Did I have anything else to really say about that, or was I gonna just spout a bunch of nonsense bullshit?
Why change the habit of 560 odd podcasts at this point, Thomas?
12 years, yeah, 12 years running. Yeah, I think the only comment was, Rick falling in the wadi. That's really the only observation I had about him. And then that's when Pieter Jan goes into his speech about Rick losing his buddy and Mr. Bean is all alone.
Yeah.
I know these speeches are always a little bit narratory, but Pieter Jan says nothing of importance here. He basically just tells us somebody is getting eliminated this week, and that's it.
But it's all worth it for last week's one where he goes, "Who's the mole? I've no fucking clue."
Yeah.
Don't ask me.
I'm just a guy.
The 3+ minutes of Pieter Jan's preambles that he does in every single one of these episodes is all worth it for him just turning around and going, "I've no bleeding clue who the mole is anymore."
Yeah, don't ask me, okay? My job is hard enough as it is. I have to deal with Rick. I have to deal with Vivienne, somehow knowing the answer to every question for every challenge.
It's refreshing honesty, this.
I have to deal with Dennis being Dennis.
Yeah. And my son Sam is being a little...
A little bitch. He keeps ringing me, and does he not realize how much that costs at this point in the world?
Yeah, those are long distance calls. That's $2 per minute, Sam. $2 per minute. What do you think? You think your dad is made of money, Sam?
We're still almost a decade away from Canadians getting smartphones here.
And go to bed early. Stop watching Eurovision all night. You have school tomorrow, Sam. Who are you calling at 11 o'clock at night?
So, Pieter Jan says that Rick went home and John lost his buddy. Vivienne and Anik seem to be getting close, but can anybody survive a finale? Dennis is a solo player, a convenient person to make a deal with if the terms are right. In the south of Jordan, one more person will be leaving after a visit to a world wonder with a twist. It's day 13 in Amman, and they're off to a restaurant. John laments the loss of Rick. They were roomies and talked a lot and philosophized. He was a suspicious person, and then suddenly he has a red screen, and John felt remorse for even suspecting him. They count the pot in the restaurant. And Dennis says he's already decided to go fully on John. Either he will be in the finale, or he'll know who the mole is really, which is Anik.
It's very funny that, like, John gets to do, like, the big, long Rick eulogy, and he gets a little bit less time to talk about him, and then Vivienne and Dennis just don't care at all.
Yeah, they don't give a shit.
They just reply with, "Hey, remember when he fell in the water yesterday?"
He fell, and that was funny.
Yeah.
Rip.
He was just an old guy, and we had 6 of them this year.
And I like how Mr. Bean is all, like, really sad about Rick leaving, to the point that it's like when Peter Griffin finds out that Bob Welch has died. I was just expecting a sentimental lady to start playing as Mr. Bean lays on a patch of sand and looks longingly up at the sky. But yeah, I like how Mr. Bean also said, a direct quote was, "As a person, I really started to love him." Like, that's I don't know. Has anybody ever felt that way about Rick?
No.
I don't even think Rick's wife feels that way about Rick. So Pieter Jan meets them back at the train yard where they said goodbye to Rick and tells them the train behind him is all theirs. Each of them will have a carriage, and in each carriage is a safe with money. In one carriage is also a computer which will tell the rest of them their safe codes, but it needs passwords. Dennis goes in the first carriage, John in the second, Anik in the third, and Vivienne in the fourth. And Anik's carriage has 4 photos, and the photos need to be put in order to find the code. The photos are the view from the train.
These challenges seem very, very easy.
They do seem very easy, but also, as someone who has to talk about this, they're way too visual.
Yeah.
Like, you have Anik looking out of a train window and trying to see the same views. You have Vivienne looking through balloons. You have Dennis doing a maths problem, which we've discussed ad nauseum about how no one is interested in seeing people do maths on television. Countdown.
Yeah, I was thinking Dennis's brain teaser was very Mole New Zealand-esque.
Yeah, and also, it's not easy maths. I tried to do it, and I'm like, yeah, I can't be asked with this.
Yeah. Just give me the €0, Pieter Jan.
I suppose the good news is he had like the entire length of a train ride across the country to do it.
Yeah, and presumably that was an hour and 51 long. I'm presuming that all of these details that we found were actually to do with the train ride itself. Because they said they don't know how long the train ride is and all that sort of stuff, and I bet Dennis, if he did that, went, I bet it's going to be an hour and 51.
Yeah.
Remember how we always talk about how Vivienne, when the cast gets to a point of having too much money in the pot, and it's very obvious when production tries to scale down how much money they can earn during a certain episode, because they have a very specific pacing. This challenge had a maximum of €2,000, I think.
1,600, actually.
Or 1,600, yeah.
Yeah, there was... Pete Jan said they missed €400 and they got €400, and it would have been doubled. On that point, do you know how much they could have made in the past 2 episodes?
€3,000?
It was 2,600 this week and 5,200 last week, for a total of €7,800 as the maximum for 2 episodes.
It's all because they probably were overcompensating in case Sebastian left the game with the money. But because he gave the money back, they're thinking, oh, wait, no, they're over 20,000. This wasn't in the script.
In other words, if a 2-episode stretch on Modern Vidim had a maximum of less than €8,000, I would have rinsed them for this. But it kind of works in this season because they have got a ludicrous pot at this point. It's like well over 20 grand.
Yeah.
And then the American viewers say, where is the incentive for them to play?
On that subject, I don't know if Bindles saw this. Someone was complaining that the Australian version of The Floor has dropped the maximum prize money from 250 grand to 200,000, I think it is. 200,000 $. And they've dropped the show prize from 20,000 to 10,000. Like, what is the incentive for people to play more duels? It's like, this is not America. Get your head out your ass. I've just watched 3 episodes of Jeopardy UK where I think combined they won about £5,000, the champions.
How do I put it? There are several nice Americans. Very few of them are in the reality TV fandom.
We have our favourite Americans.
Yeah.
And it's usually slightly insane people who we've met through reality TV rather than people who commentate on reality TV.
Yeah. Except for the 2 Jordans who are both lovely.
Well, one of them is. They can decide who the lovely one actually is.
Do you notice that the conductor during the train challenge was smoking a cigarette and drinking during the challenge? Yeah. I was wondering, I really hope what he's drinking is coffee.
Yeah, like I watched that and I'm like my work can do drug and alcohol testing on me and I don't even work on the train. How are they getting away with this? Like, I want to be able to drink shit.
Yeah, the difference is when they drug and alcohol test you and you come up negative, they go, do you want some? We have a big brass mug full of vodka here. Do you want some? Grab a straw.
I was thinking the kids that were playing on the train tracks during the challenge, I think if they knew the conductor was smoking and drinking on the train, they would not be anywhere near the train tracks.
I think the best visual in this entire challenge is sort of Vivienne walking into her carriage, seeing, the hundreds and hundreds of balloons there, having to cross all the way through them to reach her envelope, which just tells her, password's on one of the balloons, good luck finding it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know this isn't Bell here, but this fucking shows sometimes.
I think if I had to put money on it, I suspect this train challenge was done entirely for that visual of the balloons.
Yeah.
Because there's no other reason from the other 3 that we see for them to actually do this. It's solely for one person to have to walk into a carriage full of balloons and go, shit, what do I do here?
And luckily they picked the shortest one who was most likely to drown in the balloons.
Of course.
I like how the password was the Steve Miller Band song. abracadabra than having to shout abracadabra outside the train. Abra what? Abracadabra.
Where do you think the mole would want to be in this challenge, out of interest, Saunders?
I was going to say on the train.
Don't be a smartass.
No, strapped to the roof.
Yeah. That's right, yeah. Or on the train tracks. Help me, Pieter Jan.
Help, help.
Help. All he needs is some spinach. I would guess I guess the most powerful position would be in Dennis's compartment, but Dennis goes home, so I guess just does it really matter with this challenge?
Yeah.
Maybe one of the middle compartments for when everyone's screaming at each other to relay all of that information, rather than at one of the end ones. But pretty much everyone had an equal amount of participation in this.
This wasn't a leading question, by the way. I just haven't asked you that question much this season, and I thought I'd pick your brain a little bit when we've got nothing else to talk about.
Yeah, it's just I genuinely don't really know what would be the more important role than the other.
And where would you like them all to be at Petra?
In the Temple of Doom.
Did you also notice the thing that massively dated this episode and this challenge?
No.
Was there an Obama poster?
No, it was when Dennis was getting the passwords, he had to log in using Windows XP.
Yeah.
Which, if I'm not mistaken from my timeline, was very much at the end of its life cycle in 2008 when they filmed this.
Yeah, because that would have been Windows Vista time when I was in high school.
I think Vista came out sometime around 2008.
Yeah.
Because it was a big thing when I was like 15.
What's funny is I just heard when I was in Vancouver in my hostel dorm, there was a guy from Germany, and he said, I think, was it the public train system or something else? Some sort of important piece of German infrastructure still runs on Windows XP.
I think it's air traffic control still runs on floppy disks.
Yeah.
Because they can't be hacked.
Well, it's like how with all the stuff that's going on in the US at the moment, it's sort of come out that basically all of like the social security and everything is run on COBOL, like because nobody like understands it enough to be able to hack into it.
Yeah, there's not to get too philosophical, but there is a time and a place for old tech still. That time and that place is modern day and Canada respectively. But stop spoiling my jokes, Bindles.
I was surprised. Not really surprised. Production really made this tough in terms of giving Dennis a very complicated sequence to relay to Vivienne to unlock the safe with the money in it.
Yeah, and like his maths puzzle was not easy. I'm assuming there was some sort of degree of leniency in the answer he was allowed to give, because it wasn't a whole number that he had to work out. It was 5,286 meters that he ended up having to work out. Because 111 does not divide into 7 equally.
No.
And Dennis's imitation of the train whistle sounded more like the end of the day work whistle from the Flintstones intro theme.
And for the avoidance of doubt, by the way, Saunders, you'll be getting Windows XP in about a year or two.
Okay, yeah, because this Windows 97 is really slowing me down.
And I know you grew up on Windows 3.1, but still.
I remember as a kid using Windows 95. Those were the days. But actually, all four of them communicated fairly well with the complicated number sequences for the safes. And then, of course, Anik communicated very random symbols that were very confusing for Dennis to try and enter into the computer.
Yeah, there's a vast difference between abracadabra and I don't know it and whatever the fuck Anik got.
Yeah.
It feels like 90% of this challenge is basically just relaying nonsense information backwards and forwards.
Just like the podcast.
Yeah. Like, the mini tasks are mostly fine. Like, Dennis's is obviously boring, but the other ones are okay, if a little bit basic. But, like, most of the difficulty here is Anik's password having to go backwards and forwards. John's password basically caught in an entire who's on first routine. And then, Vivienne wading through hundreds and hundreds of balloons, which, honestly, it's obvious which part of that is the funniest.
What they should have done is filled the balloons with helium.
Hmm.
Because sending the shortest person in there to a carriage full of helium balloons is even funnier than what they actually did.
It'd be like a fizzy lifting drink from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
Oh god, that they're going to strap hooks to the bottom of them and just attach Sebastian to it.
Gone but not forgotten, Sebastian. See, this is what I mean when I say that Rick is by far the most boring person in this cast, because you remember Sebastian way more than you remember Rick. You remember Frauke way more than you remember Rick.
You remember Paula and Hans and Vera?
Like, everyone who went before Rick kind of had a key moment that wasn't just falling down in a waddy.
I don't know about Hans. I think Rick may be slightly more memorable than Hans.
Hans had the slinking through the Titanic building, thank you very much. Like the Pink Panther.
And Anik had the word mole in her password.
Interesting.
A clue. Let's see. Did I really have anything else? Oh, just the edit made it look like the train was going to run over all of the kids on the train tracks. I thought, are you serious? Why are we editing it like this?
Yeah.
What they should have done is just fade it to black. You just hear a single scream.
It's not Toy Story 3, Michael.
Good reference, Saunders. I'm proud of you for that.
Yeah. I'm surprised you referenced a modern movie.
He didn't just reference a modern movie. He referenced an anecdote to do with a modern movie that I've told on the podcast before that really makes me laugh every time I think of it.
Does Bindles know about Toy Story 3's alternate ending?
I think it was an episode you were here for, Bindles, but someone, literally as soon as Toy Story 3 came out on DVD, someone re-edited it so that in the scene where they're all about to go into the furnace, it fades to black and then it plays a piano version of You Got a Friend in Me. And he showed this to his mum, and she was genuinely heartbroken. It's a really, really funny video. It's still on YouTube. I find it every time we talk about this on the podcast because it makes me laugh so hard that they just went to so much effort for just trolling the mum, basically.
Yeah, I showed it to my parents. Yeah, they thought it was hilarious.
It's so well done.
Because they keep it up for like a whole day. Like they don't even find out till the next day.
They bring the credits forward and everything and do a black background for it. It's very well done.
It was always meant to be a trilogy. I was surprised that nobody lost the euro notes when dangling out of the compartment, because Vivienne says, "Here, I have the 300 euros," or Mr. Bean saying, "No, I have the 100 euros." I'm thinking, you're on a train.
I mean, they have pockets.
They were hanging them out, to be fair.
Yeah. But they're like dangling outside the compartment saying, "Oh, look at the euros I found." All it would take was one little slip of a finger, and then boom, the euros go to the community.
Yeah, they're not going to rip up the money that they actually got and all that sort of stuff, are they? So,
speaking of heading out of the compartments, if you were in John's carriage in this challenge, wouldn't the ideal strategy just be like read the letters while you're leaning out to relay a message, and then pretend you saw them using the stupid mirror?
Yes, absolutely. Unless he had to do the mirror out the other side of the train, which is what I would have done as production.
Yeah, but like but you'd be relaying like the thing on both sides, because it's not like the train turns. So like sometimes you'd be on the right side, sometimes you'd be on the left side. So you'd be able to see it sometimes.
Yeah, good point. Didn't think of that. Can you tell I don't do public transport?
No. Can you tell I do trains?
It is your hyperfixation, Bindles.
And Dennis was able to open the safe, but he only missed it by 10 seconds.
Because he had a very complicated maths puzzle and kept getting distracted by John screaming at him and train whistles.
Abracadabra, Dennis.
And while Dennis is, doing maths and being yelled at, Vivienne basically just decides to start polluting the Jordanian countryside by throwing her balloons at the caboose.
Yeah.
Here, kids, play with these balloons, courtesy of the Dutch.
Choo-choo, motherfucker.
And one Belgian.
So they get 400 euros of 800 from the safes, and Pieter Jan says that would have been doubled to 1,600 had all four of them succeeded. And they realise on the bus that Anik's assignment was actually to place 4 of the 6 photos she had in the envelope, and she didn't need 2 of them. They then, in probably the highlight of the episode, arrive at the exotic Petra Youth Hostel, and flashing back to episode 1, everyone bitches about the accommodation. Dennis is not the most miserable about the disgusting hostel that they have to stay in here.
They said they saw cockroaches.
It was cockroaches, bed bugs,
breadcrumbs in Mr. Bean's bed.
Yep, no sheets on John's bed as well. Anik said she'd rather hang herself than go and get her luggage. John said he would discourage any backpackers from staying there when they go to Petra.
It sounds very much like the capsule hotel I stayed in Sydney.
I looked up the name of this hostel and I couldn't find it online.
Oh, good.
And I was thinking this is probably before Hostel World and Google Maps reviews, so I think as soon as those went online, this hostel went completely under.
Apparently you can get a hostel in Petra from €5.88.
Ooh.
Let's see how many stars that is.
It's cheap.
All of these are actually way better rated than I thought they were going to be, to be honest.
I think my favourite thing is, like, yes, they're being negative, but I think half of John's bemusement with the whole situation is being expected to sleep at the Petra Youth Hostel when he's like 47 years old or whatever he is.
And he looks so much older than that.
Yeah.
Yeah, anytime you see somebody like that in a hostel, they're immediately labeled like, this guy either has a lot of really cool stories or is just one massive creep.
Apparently, the highest rated hostel in Petra has an evening Bedouin music party while drinking coffee flavoured with cardamom or mint tea.
Ooh.
That's pretty cool. Too bad they didn't get to stay there.
Yeah, we should go.
Absolutely not. I'm not staying in a hostel.
Can't get in the beds?
No, it's just a red line. Saunders knows exactly what sort of hotel I stay in.
Yes.
Arguably 3-star in a few weeks, but, 3-star is my lower limit, I think.
Yeah.
Because I don't see the point of paying for a shit accommodation, to be honest.
Yeah, well, usually when you pay for a room, you need a safe word.
Yeah, very true. Usually it comes with rubber bedding.
That safe word, the safe word in this episode was abracadabra, because that's the word that opened up the safe.
I was just going to say, he rents the room and needs a safe word, and it's just a whole bunch of random punctuation.
Ampersand, end bracket, tilde.
You're being choked and you've got to say, like, square bracket, ampersand, octothorpe.
Interrobang!
Underscore!
That's a paddling.
Pound. Pound, $, pound, $. Oh. Mercy.
Had me at pound.
Okay. Yeah. Anyways, this episode, Pieter Jan talks about the history of Petra. And we see that there are tons and tons of tourists. It's actually, I wrote down my notes. It's actually gross how many tourists there are.
3,000 people a day, he said. I suspect it's a lot more than that now.
Oh, yeah. That's definitely not just 3,000.
No, like, my work gets about 1,000 a day. I'm like, Petra is at least 3 times, more important than my work.
Yeah. Although Petra does not have a hard quiz Big Brass Mug.
No.
I think Pieter Jan was missing a 0. I think it's 30,000 a day, at least.
I love how he gives like the big, long speech about the history of Petra. Doesn't mention how many times she hosted Eurovision.
So Pieter Jan sets them their task at Petra, which is to take a photo, a group photo to be precise, with no tourists in it. And if they succeed, within 15 minutes of entering the Petra compound, they will earn €1,000. One thing I did notice, Dennis has had a buzz cut.
Oh.
And they do not acknowledge this in the slightest, but he's wearing his hat for the first assignment, but he has shaved his head. Mm. And I'm like 99% sure that he had a full head of hair last week.
Maybe he's becoming a monk.
Maybe he slipped on a wax strip at the Petra Youth Hostel.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
No, what happened is, as a prank, someone stuck wax strips to his head and then hit golf balls attached to them.
Dennis, as soon as Pieter Jan explains the assignment, Dennis just says, "Oh yeah, super easy." And I'm thinking, I couldn't tell if that was Dennis being sarcastic or not. as in he's thinking like, is it really super easy, or just he saw how many tourists there were walking around and thinks there's no way you can get everybody out of the frame, especially with how wide the camera lens was too. It wasn't a small camera. It wasn't like a small early smartphone camera.
No, it's a proper DSLR.
Yeah. I do wonder if they were forced to use that camera angle because, like, I would have thought maybe aim more at the actual temple would like give you less room to have to move the tourists out of.
Or just walk up or have all four people be right next to the lens when the picture is being taken, so all you see is an extreme close up of their four faces. I assume that would be allowed.
Like it can't have been okay. You've got to put the camera here and take it from this angle because they had to carry the camera with them. Like they wouldn't have known they were in the right place. So I assume they had the power to, choose how they framed the shot. So I don't know why they decided to basically put like everything in the frame.
Yeah, it was a very odd choice. Because I'd sort of presumed that a producer had told them, "Now you got to place your tripod there because you can't block the entrance or whatever."
Yeah.
Because otherwise, I would have just zoomed in. I would have done it straight on, zoomed in as much as you could, and they just had us standing on the steps.
Yeah. You can tell how exciting this episode is from, how long they show them walking up to the temple.
Yeah. Like, this episode is entirely based around, shit, we're in Jordan, we need to go to Petra. But then, this is not a good challenge.
No.
It was like the funniest part was them just yelling at the locals, be like, "We just want 2 minutes of your time. Everyone, get out of here." It was like an evacuation in a action movie before a bomb detonation. Get everybody out.
You can tell that John works in the theatre with how good he was at projecting his voice.
Yeah.
Like, that was way impressive.
And I like how Alex said, "Oh, there were so many cranky people who didn't want to move, or they asked to reroute where they were walking to be so that they weren't blocking the photo." And I was thinking, we're not even at social media influencer days. Where now, if you were to go to Petra, you'd be dodging like 100 people setting up tripods and selfie sticks and doing TikToks in front of the temple, because those people are already really irritating. It was really bad when I went to Hong Kong. Just look to my left and somebody's pissed off because I accidentally walked into their shop. I'm like, what am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to do, man? Like, I'm walking here.
Petra's daily visitors numbers are around 4,000 during its peak seasons, which is March and April and September and October, by the way.
Oh.
Really? It is that low?
It's about 1.1 million a year.
Yeah. I mean, I guess because like it is in the middle of nowhere, but also, there's an airport nearby, and it's quite a well-known location. Like it's certainly the most famous thing in Jordan itself. Probably in the whole Middle East, aside from maybe Mecca.
Yeah, it's up there. I'd say probably the Dead Sea generally would be up there as well.
Yeah, but like again, that would be very close to Petra. Like you could do a day trip.
Yeah, Petra's probably up there with like Masada's probably right below it because Masada gets a lot of visitors, more than you'd think it does for being in the middle of nowhere as well.
And I really have no other notes on this challenge. Just Vivienne goes to fix the camera. The other three yell at her for wasting time to check it. Then Dennis checks to see what Vivienne did to fix the camera for himself, and then they take the photo. And we don't even find out the outcome of the challenge, which has the worst suspense I think ever built up for the outcome of challenge. Because I'm just going to say right now, we find out about half an hour later from Pieter Jan that they failed it.
It's a really cool visual challenge, but unfortunately, it's bobbins to have to talk about.
Yeah, like I don't think it's a bad challenge. I think it's just it's missing the layer that makes it a mole challenge, and B, they find the solution to this challenge basically within the first 3 seconds, which is John yelling at everybody.
Yeah.
GTFO, locals and tourists.
Like, it's a fine challenge. It just plays out in the worst possible way.
So they then get to chat in pairs with everyone else about their suspicions and try and trip each other up.
It's the third interrogation scene of the season. I don't need 3 in the span of about 4 episodes.
I have exactly one note for this, which is Anik made me laugh by basically describing this as pointless, which I 100% agree with.
Yeah.
Anik, during one of her chats, just says it's a pointless exercise. I don't know why we're even doing this still.
Yeah. Like, the only other note I have is, like, Dennis says he has a 25% chance of going home this week, and I'm like, well, if you're not the mole, it's 33 and a third percent.
No wonder he couldn't solve the brain teaser on time.
Yeah.
So Pieter Jan tells us that a big group began, but only 4 fanatical contestants are left, one of whom is lying to the rest of them. An exemption can be won today, which guarantees a spot in the finale, but first he needs to look at their photo from Petra. They were very close, but there were 13 tourists in the photo for a total of no euros of €1,000 for the challenge, 400 of 2,600 for the episode, and 20,700 of 81,550 for the season so far.
I love the running joke this season of Pieter Jan doing all his narration segments, like, framed really weirdly. Like, we had the pub scene, we had the windstorm in Ireland, and now we've got him just for no reason being filmed through a tree.
Yeah, he keeps getting hit by the branches as he's walking, and it's like the only tree for like 10 kilometers.
And he confirms to the group that no money can be earned today, but an exemption. And they will need to split into 2 pairs, and the losing pair will decide who from the winning pair wins the exemption.
An exemption at Final Four? How novel!
This has never happened before, and they all seemed really surprised about the concept of an exemption up to finale.
And I think it's stupid that they didn't even bother having any money available, because they could have used it as like an extra twist or an extra layer to this challenge.
Yeah, like they could have done, if you get within 25 meters or whatever, then you get, €1,000 for each pair that does it or whatever. There were ways to add money to this challenge, but I guess they're making too much.
Yeah, if they're saying 1,600 euros, okay, 1,000 euros, okay, €0 for the 3 challenges this episode. Translation: they really, really did not want to give them any more money for the rest of this season.
Yeah, I think, like Petra, it's a challenge that's fine as an idea, it just doesn't plan out very well. But at least this one, they sort of go back to the drawing board and rework it, and then it sort of works a lot better when they basically redo exactly the same challenge as that navigating to Tokyo Tower challenge in Japan. But this is like it's filler in an episode that already has extensive filler.
Yeah, this is a wheel spin episode leading up to the finale, I think.
My favorite is Pieter Jan saying, hey guys, remember that Crusaders theme we were talking about at the castle in Northern Ireland? Well, this castle was also part of the Crusades. It only took us three episodes to tie it back into why we came here from Northern Ireland in the first place.
So they head to El Shabak, and the pairs are men versus women, Anik and Vivienne versus John and Dennis. They are asked for a number between 1 and 100, presumably how confident they are and who their mole is. And the women say 70, and the men say 88, which is a strong look given that Dennis is now a skinhead. One team will take the 900-year-old escape route, while the other will take the road, and they must measure both routes and add them together. And the number that they chose is the length of their rope for the road in meters. The tunnel route will be measured by lasers.
Why? Why do they have I don't understand why they had to pick a number between 1 and 100, because it's not like they knew what the number was going to refer to. It has nothing to do with potential money that can be earned, so it's not like the mole is going to influence a bad number being picked.
I think it was probably for the hope of a comedy answer of 1 or 2, because if one team had a 70-meter rope and one team had a meter rope, that would have been absolutely hilarious, obviously.
Yeah. I think that's the thing with this season. Like, a lot of these challenges are fine, and, like, the cast is fine. It's just they're very good at sort of working out the trick to the challenge and then just not falling for the trick.
They're too genre savvy.
Yeah.
Especially with Vivienne there.
Which is, hilarious when they've just been surprised by the concept of an exemption at Final Four.
Yeah. Do you think the mole would want to win the exemption?
Yeah, I don't think the mole would give a damn, honestly.
Yeah.
I was thinking this watching the challenge. Obviously, I know who the mole is and whether they won or lost the exemption here, but this is a very rare mole challenge, and this is the sort of challenge that we complain about because there are no stakes for the mole. It's a perfectly fine challenge, but it's not a perfectly fine mole challenge because there's nothing really for the mole to do. They have no vested interest, even if after the interrogations they know if people suspect them or not. They have no vested interest in who wins or loses this challenge, which isn't good for a mole challenge.
No.
And I was thinking too, no matter what, Dennis was dead here because he was the only person who appears to not be onto who the mole is at all. And also, even if Vivienne and Anik got to decide whether it's Dennis or Mr. Bean that gets the exemption, they were going to pick Mr. Bean because there's a whole conversation that Anik and Vivienne had, which shows you just how savvy Vivienne is. Where she's, because I think I talked to you guys about this before last week when I first watched it, where Vivienne is talking to Anik and says, who do you think we should give the exemption to? And then Anik's like, well, I guess I'd give it to Mr. Bean because I think he's, or she doesn't say why. She just says, I think I would give the exemption to Mr. Bean. And then Vivienne says, oh, okay, so that must mean you think he's the mole then. And then Anik's like, oh, who would you give the exemption to, Vivienne? Oh, I don't know. I don't really want to discuss it. Whoever you want. Just completely keeps her cards to her chest while also, if Anik isn't the mole, completely reveals what Anik's strategy is here, or who Anik's suspect would be. And the funny thing is that when Dennis and Mr. Bean eventually get to decide who gets the exemption, both of them also reveal who their mole is because they both want to give the exemption to their mole, and they have an argument about it. And they both have to say, no, I don't really, that's not why I want to give the person that exemption, even though that really is why they want to have that person receive the exemption. So it's funny that just everyone openly states who they think the mole is, and then they have to deny it as well.
And that's literally the only interesting bit about this challenge, is Vivienne tricking Anik into revealing that she suspects John.
Yeah, like, it's a cool location. It is maybe not the best challenge they could have done there.
Yeah. And given that the exemption up to finale tends to be a fairly high concept challenge, and this one is measuring the length of a road.
Yeah.
Like if this was Belgia, there'd be like different tasks to do along the way, like match these Jordanian celebrities or
quick, Logan, name a Jordanian celebrity.
Michael Jordan.
Name a Jordanian celebrity for $1 Saunders.
Michael Jordan.
Yeah, I mean, not to spoil Belgia this week for you guys too much, but there is an advantage challenge in this episode. It's not an exemption up to finale, but there is a challenge for an advantage that one person can potentially win or not. And it's very much a multi-stage challenge of people trying to stop them.
Carry this mannequin of Saladin.
Yeah, I think the problem with this challenge is it's clearly designed because of the tunnels. Like, the laser part is the bit that the challenge exists for.
Yeah.
But it's complete darkness, so they don't really show us much of it, except for the Vivienne and Anik scene.
No, and it's really difficult for them to film in as well, because, unsurprisingly, 900-year-old tunnels, not built for camera crews.
Yeah. Like, it's clearly designed for the tunnels that are, the cool bit of going there. But the problem is the interesting bit of the challenge is the road. So, like, neither part of it really works on its own, but they also don't quite gel together as a pair, even though they're basically the same concept.
Yeah, it's interesting that both the photo challenge and the measuring challenge both use really cool locations. They just don't know quite how to piece it all together to fit it in with it making an interesting mole challenge for TV.
Yeah. I think that's been, a thing this whole season, because, like, yes, the Hippodrome worked with the chariot race, but then you also had that bridge in Ireland. You had, all of the Titanic shit didn't work. Like, they've had really cool locations this season, but a lot of the challenges haven't been good at utilizing them.
Yeah, as I said when we talked about that episode, Karakaridi is one of the highlights of Northern Ireland. If you're going to go to that part of the world, you go to Karakaridi, you probably go to Giant's Causeway, which I'm surprised they didn't.
And all they did there was cross a bridge and vote for who goes home.
Yeah, they didn't really use it.
Yeah. I did like Dennis saying he loved the tunnels because he's a big James Bond fan and it felt very Mission Impossible, which is, famously a James Bond film.
Yep. And this is in the episode with an absolutely blatant Indiana Jones shout out as well. So the men lock in a guess of 996 meters, while the women lock in 997. The real distance is 1,027, but it is the men who will decide which woman gets an exemption. Dennis wants to give it to Vivienne, and John wants to give it to Anik. John relents, and Vivienne becomes exempt.
They were both really, really close, considering.
Yeah.
And the fact that they finished, despite having very different rulers, just 1 meter apart in their guesses is ridiculous.
Yeah. Like, even Pieter Jan couldn't believe it.
No. It's not the most shocked that we see Pieter Jan be a result of a challenge, but it's close.
No.
But it's like, how do we give one pair a 70-meter ruler and the other pair an 88-meter ruler, and they submit a guess within 1 meter of each after a full kilometer of measuring? That's insane.
And I loved that missing meter might have just been because Dennis and John got the rope stuck on that boulder.
Yeah, that could have cost, well, let's be honest, Dennis still would have gone home here because the girls were never giving Dennis the exemption, but it could have, in theory, cost Dennis a place in the finale. So, it is now time for the test. 20 questions about the identity and actions of the mole. Whoever knows least goes home except for the mole who can never go home. Vivienne has an exemption for the finale. Anik says she's sticking with John. It's the only safety she has. She doesn't have any competition left, only Dennis, and she hopes that he is suspecting her. Dennis has had a different feel in the last two tests, confirmation of who the mole must be. He didn't see the mole at work today because there was no money involved, and he's going fully on John. And John goes mostly for Anik, but Vivienne was being weird at Petra, shouting before they took the photo. Pieter Jan tells them that they need to wipe the sand from their eyes as they say goodbye to someone because for some reason they're doing this execution during a sandstorm.
Yeah, they were not comfortable.
No, he kept going on about that for like the entire last half of the episode. Like, I love none of the contestants cared at all. But Pieter Jan was like, this is worse than that youth hostel.
If it's a sandstorm, move it inside.
Or get rid of the sand shrew.
Yeah. Please Tyranitar with its sandstream ability. So John volunteers to see the first screen, and it's green, sending him to the finale too. And it gets the second screen, and it's also green, sending Dennis home. And he says that it was the right choice to give Vivienne the exemption. He'd rather battle Anik for a place in the finale than her. He wanted to reach the end and find the mole the most.
But then the weird thing is he would have, about that logic, is that if he thinks Vivienne is a really strong competitor, he would then have to face off against Vivienne in the finale anyway.
Yeah, but if he thinks that Vivienne's on Anik... So in his mind, if Anik is the mole, then Vivienne goes home, she's on the back foot going into the finale, and probably doesn't get the right mole in the end, and then it's him versus John. John's the one you want in the finale, I think.
Yeah.
So, next time, there are jeeps, Anik knocks something over, more balloons, candles, and a mole is revealed. And as always, with our Historian seasons, we will be doing the finale and the reunion next episode, so Logan will know who the mole is by the time that we speak next.
Ooh.
I think my favorite bit of the Dennis, like, exit interview sort of stuff is, like, you know how, like, all season they've been doing the flashbacks to, like, past challenges? All of Dennis's ones are, like, it's basically a whole bunch of challenges where Dennis acts like he's in charge of things. And also that time he choked on a hooker.
I'm going to say this now. If someone from this season comes back for Renaissance, I think it probably should be Dennis.
Yeah. Although I think he's living in Bali now, so it might be a little bit hard.
Yeah, hasn't he got dreadlocks now, or am I imagining that?
What's your obsession with his hair this episode, Michael?
No, I think I looked him up a few weeks ago.
He's just warming up for Reunion Fashion Watch.
I think he does look a lot different now, I seem to remember.
But yeah, he basically turned into a hippie and moved to Indonesia, so it might be a little bit hard to get him back.
Yeah, I'm sure the lure of going to Portugal in January would tempt him back home. Yeah, it does look like he lives in Bali now. You're right. But yeah, Dennis is... He was a little bitch at the start of the season with his accommodation rant, but he has been very entertaining this season.
Yeah, like, out of all the people this season, I think Dennis is probably the most entertaining.
Yeah.
Like, there's been other entertaining people, but, Sebastian has moments where he's an absolute asshole. Paula, I think we all knew she wasn't going to last long, so, why would we get too invested? But I think Dennis has, like, the right combination of, yes, he's going to be here for a while, so get used to it, and also, he knows where the line is.
I must admit, coming into this rewatch, I wasn't particularly looking forward to seeing Dennis again, because I remembered him being a bit annoying.
Yeah.
But actually, he does carry a lot of the entertainment this season and a lot of the more trying people present, shall we say.
Yeah. And, like, it's not that Vivienne and Anik aren't entertaining. It's just, like, they're both sort of more quiet, reserved characters than we're used to in modern Venom. And, that works in moderation, but when they're two of the final four, I think you've got to use, like, editing tricks to make them seem a little bit more entertaining than the show has, really.
Yeah, and I mean, John is an established Rowan Atkinson character, so obviously he's going to be entertaining.
Yeah. But, like, you've got John, you've got Dennis, and then basically the rest of the final five is either not memorable or, kind of dull. And, like, dull can work, but you've got to have, like, the right combination of people to bounce off of, and I don't think this cast has really worked that well.
Yeah. Something I've just thought of as well. Has there ever been an interesting Rick on Venom?
No.
I don't think there has.
Well, Rick Paul.
Yeah, I mean, Rick Paul by default is the most interesting Rick, but
Mm.
even in that season, I don't think he's close to the most entertaining person.
No. Well, that was the season with Nikki and Rekachino, wasn't it?
It was indeed, yes. Any thoughts about Dennis Saunders as the one person who'd never seen him before?
Yeah, he was a interesting character. Definitely, he definitely carried a lot of those scenes in between challenges. Yeah, he amused me sometimes, and yeah, I thought he was a solid pick for this cast. His highlight reel isn't just limited to falling in a wadi.
Always a plus.
So, final 4 questions, I'm going to say. Who do you suspect, Saunders? Who do you think is our runner-up? Who's the sneaky Belgian? And who from this cast do you think ends up hosting Mole Talk? Because we've not discussed that this season yet, I don't think.
Okay, so I guess my suspect list is Anik, Dennis, Mr. Bean, and then Vivienne. I think the runner-up will be Mr. Bean, with Vivienne as the winner and Anik as the mole. I still think Vivienne is the sneaky Belgian or the secret Flemish agent. And who out of the 10 hosts Mole Talk?
Yeah, one of the people in this cast hosts Mole Talk for years.
It's going to be someone super random. Pieter Jan really liked that Hans fellow. Maybe Hans.
Interesting. And as we discussed before we started recording, Saunders is going to have to give us his final set of suspicions before anyone's role is revealed in the next episode, which does happen before the end of the next episode. Someone is revealed as either winner or a loser at the end of the next episode. But we'll be covering both on the next episode, so, no cliffhanger for the audience, at least.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to say about this episode?
Nope.
Good. Right answer. In that case, thank you for listening to our VS to Mole 2009 recap. We'll be back next week to conclude the hunt for an old mole in Northern Ireland and Jordan. Don't forget you can contact us on pretty much every social media platform except TikTok, where we are RTV Warriors, or you can email us and contact at rtvwarriors.com. And also support us on Patreon at patreon.com/rtvwarriors and get early access to the rest of the episodes of this season. Thank you as always to Marika for the subtitles, and we'll see you next week.
Peace out and just chill till the next flavoring.
I guess that's one storm that's blown over.